The headlines for this hour on VTV News. Vietnam ready to negotiate with the United States to reduce import taxes to 0%. Vietnamese seafood industry respond to new U.S. tariffs. And WHO official dismisses rumors about new virus in Russia.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Hello, it's 3 p.m. local time in Hanoi. You're watching VTV News. On Friday night, Party General Secretary Tô Lâm held a phone call with U.S. President Donald Trump to discuss Vietnam-U.S. relations. The leaders focused on bilateral trade measures, with Party General Secretary Tô Lâm stating that Vietnam is prepared to negotiate reducing import tariff to 0% for U.S. goods, while requesting the same treatment for Vietnamese imports. Vietnam also committed to increasing U.S. imports and providing favorable conditions for American companies to invest in Vietnam. Both leaders agreed to work towards signing a bilateral agreement to formalize these commitments. U.S. President Donald Trump's announcement to impose reciprocal tariff on more than 90 economies has prompted countries to adopt various responses. While some U.S. trade partners have swiftly implemented countermeasures, others are seeking dialogue and refraining from immediate retaliation.
The Cambodian government announced an immediate reduction in tariffs on 19 U.S. imports, from 35% down to 5%. Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet also called on Washington to delay imposing 49% retaliatory tariffs on Cambodian goods. As the ASEAN chair in 2025, Malaysia has proposed a special meeting of ASEAN economic ministers on April 10th. The meeting will focus on the impact of U.S. tariffs on regional trade and macroeconomic stability. French Finance Minister Eric Lombard advised against retaliating with tariffs, citing additional pressure on EU consumers. He indicated the EU is developing a broader response strategy aimed at bringing the US back to the negotiating table. In a firm response, China announced a 34% additional tariff on all US imports on top of existing duties, effective April 10th. Beijing warned that America's tariff policy may disrupt the global economy and trade systems. Meanwhile, Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba urged a calm and measured approach, expressing his intent to speak directly with U.S. President Donald Trump. Tokyo is reportedly arranging a phone call with the White House to address tariff concerns through diplomacy.
The seafood industry is expected to be among the hardest hit by changes in tariff and global trade. Vietnam's annual seafood export to the United States total approximately $2 billion, accounting for 1/5 of Vietnam's total seafood export value. More than 400 Vietnamese businesses currently export or plan to export seafood to the U.S. market. To maintain competitiveness and export growth, these businesses must prepare for various tariff scenarios and the evolving trade landscape. Reporting from the seafood hub of the Mekong Delta.
Earlier this year, the enterprise aimed for strong export growth in the U.S. market. Now, those plans have been derailed by the U.S. government's record-high retaliatory tariffs.
There will be great difficulty because Vietnamese shrimp is currently subject to 2 taxes at the same time, anti-subsidy and anti-dumping when exporting to the U.S.
The U.S. is currently the largest importer of Vietnamese seafood, with a turnover of more than $1.85 billion in 2024. These new retaliatory tariffs could severely impact the entire industry without an early response plan.
We will work with seafood processing associations and businesses to gather market information. We will also direct departments and agencies to respond and mitigate the impact.
Domestic businesses also need both immediate and long-term solutions to proactively respond and effectively adapt to market changes.
We need to find new markets to further stabilize the situation. The imbalance between supply and demand needs to be addressed. To achieve this balance, we must reduce supply by cutting back production.
We shouldn't keep thinking about raising prices. We should reduce costs for better competitiveness in the coming period. It's better to push the production chain network to reduce costs.
In addition to high tariffs, the U.S. has implemented, and will continue to enforce, technical barriers on popular Vietnamese exports like seafood. As a result, Vietnamese businesses must strengthen their quality control measures.
The Vietnam Association of Seafood Exporters and Producers, VASEP, has sent an urgent proposal to the Prime Minister and relevant ministries to address major challenges in the seafood industry. The proposal outlines several key solutions, establishing a unified timeline with the U.S. government for a new import tariff and negotiating reduced tariff levels. Since agriculture and aquatic products are essential consumer goods, VASEP recommends that the U.S. government set tariffs that align with U.S. consumer income levels. VASEP noted that Vietnam currently imports thousands of tons of U.S. soybeans at 0% tariff. The organization advocates for product-specific tax rate rather than the blanket 46% rate currently being applied. International integration is both a process of cooperation and competitions, or cooperate to compete and compete to cooperate, as articulated by Party General Secretary Theo. In a rapidly changing and unpredictable world, the resilient and internal strength of businesses are essential to adapt proactively and stay prepared. This becomes even more significant as global trade faces growing uncertainties.
Vietnam's strategy of international integration, as noted in the writings of General Secretary Theo, emphasizes that Vietnam's global positioning must be built on a foundation of internal strength. This will ensure Vietnam stands firm regardless of global instability. 17 free trade agreements, FTAs, linking Vietnam to more than 60 key economies have not only provided significant advantages for businesses, but also enhanced their internal strength.
The changes we've seen over the years have helped train and strengthen businesses in the wood industry. Challenges may arise, but we have the backing of the party and state, which creates opportunities for development and helps us overcome these difficulties.
Vietnam's new development strategy emphasizes attracting FDI that prioritizes high-quality investments over cheap incentives. Leading private enterprises are being given opportunities to participate in critical national projects. These efforts contribute to building a global Vietnamese brand and ensure the country keeps pace with rapid technological advancements.
I am thrilled by the recent resolutions 57 and 59, and especially by the party chief's article on international integration. Thanks to the internet, social media platforms, and big data, we will change how we serve citizens and businesses. Digital transformation will be key in this. Vietnam is now recognized as a hub for chips and semiconductors.
The true significance of these efforts isn't just allowing major Vietnamese companies to tackle national challenges. More importantly, it's about developing small and medium-sized businesses and strengthening the domestic ecosystem. This is a trend many countries are embracing.
Vietnam has risen from a modest starting point to become one of the world's 34 largest economies.
As Party General Secretary stated, these three resolutions act as a strategic trio, unlocking resources and creating momentum. In an ever-changing global landscape, our internal strength will ultimately determine our position on the world stage.
Looking ahead to 2030, the world is undergoing rapid change, and as Vietnam strengthens its internal resilience, it will be well-positioned to enter a new era, an era of national growth and resilience in a multifaceted, ever-changing global environment.
The government has recently issued a decree extending tax and land rent payment deadlines until the end of this year, marking the 7th time this support policy has been implemented for struggling businesses. For taxes incurred in February, March, and the first quarter of this year, the extension period is 6 months. For taxes incurred in April, May, June, and the second quarter, the extension is 5 months. Regarding land rent, the government will grant a 6.5-month extension on this year payable rent to businesses, organizations, households, and individuals who directly lease land from the state and pay annual land rent. While the business community has acknowledged the Vietnamese government's efforts to streamline administrative procedures, approval processes continue to hinder foreign businesses with their slow pace and overlapping requirements. Russian and Belarusian enterprises in Vietnam remain hopeful that the government will achieve its goal of reducing procedure by at least 30% this year.
Operating as a fully foreign-invested enterprise, this Russian company increases its capital investment in Vietnam each year. However, every capital adjustment requires the firm to reapply for 2 separate documents: the Enterprise Registration Certificate and the Investment Registration Certificate. Even for a single capital transfer from Russia to Vietnam, the company must comply with regulations under 3 different legal frameworks: the investment law, the enterprise law, and the State Bank's Ordinance on Foreign Exchange.
Expanding investment in Vietnam is often a time-consuming process, especially when we urgently need funding to implement projects. As a company that has been investing in Vietnam for years, we sincerely hope that the reissuance of investment documents can be handled more quickly and consistently.
In addition, applying for work permits for foreign experts remains another major challenge for expats working in Vietnam.
Personally, I received my work visa in 2017, but just 2 years later, when I had to renew it, the number of required documents didn't decrease, it actually increased. I really hope the process of issuing work visas can be simplified in the future.
Our facility in Belarus has already been certified for quality by an independent European auditing agency. However, when importing into Vietnam, we still have to go through inspections from the beginning before customs clearance. Each shipment requires re-inspection, whereas exports to Europe do not face this requirement.
Nearly 200 Russian and Belarusian investment projects, valued at approximately $1 billion are currently active in Vietnam. Businesses indicate that streamlining just 30% of administrative procedures would accelerate expansion and drive further investment growth.
Coming up next on VTV News, rescuing 3 fishermen in distress at sea. An effort to spread traditional cultural values on digital platforms. Three fishermen in distress at sea were promptly rescued by the Bến Tre border guard on April 4th. The incident began on the morning of April 3rd when a fishing boat from Kiên Giang sank after being damaged by water while operating near the mouth of the Cửa Đại River. Upon receiving the report, the border guard stationed at Giao Long Port dispatched a fishing boat for the rescue missions. After 3 hours, the fishermen were brought safely to shore. All 3 survivors are now in stable condition. Over $108.5 million has been allocated across Vietnam to eliminate temporary and dilapidated homes nationwide, with the goal to finish the program 6 months before deadline, which is June 30th this year. In areas like Ninh Thuận, the campaign 90 Days and Nights to remove temporary housing has gained incredible momentum, inspiring community-driven support to transform lives.
In Thập La, one of 5 villages in Phuoc Chinh Commune, Thuận Bắc District, Ninh Thuận Province, local Raglai people are witnessing an extraordinary transformation. Proper houses are rising from the ground, with people coming to and fro with building materials, excitedly completing these buildings.
I am happy with the replacement of the dilapidated homes.
The campaign, 90 Days and Nights to Erase Temporary Housing, aims to complete 2,000 homes by June 30th.
We've mobilized all available resources to build 2,000 homes. Our target is clear. By June 30th, we will finish the task of eliminating temporary homes in our province.
Each family benefiting from the program receives $3,100 USD from the provincial budget and the temporary housing fund to build a new home. Many families also contribute their own funds to ensure their new homes meet their needs.
Everyone contributes what they can. We started in March, and now all the houses have at least reached the foundation stage.
Every community in Ninh Thuận is closely monitoring the process to ensure that the new homes are truly safe and livable.
In the first quarter of this year, both social order violations and drug-related crimes have decreased. Serious and particularly serious crimes show a sharp decline compared to both the previous quarter and the same period last year. Corruption-related cases have also decreased. According to the Ministry of Public Security April 4th announcement, the National Economic Police Force uncovered 222 cases of corruption involving 437 suspects, a decrease of 12.6% in both the number of cases and suspects compared to the previous 3 months. However, cases related to wastefulness have risen, with 50 new cases and 59 defendants prosecuted since the beginning of this year. This represents a 50% increase in cases and 34% increase in defendants compared to the same period in 2024. 2 high-profile cases that drew public attention have been prosecuted. Vietnam has committed to allocating at least 20% of its total state budget to education to enhance public knowledge, develop human resources, and foster talent. Prime Minister Phie recently reinforced this commitment, emphasizing the need for decisive actions and accountability from both central and local governments. Several localities have already increased their education spending to support this initiative.
As Vietnam's capital and the city with the largest student population, Hanoi has boosted its budget for school construction and renovation to address overcrowding and improve educational quality.
During this term, Hanoi's leadership invested more than $1.55 billion in building schools and allocated land in densely populated urban areas to enhance the education sector.
Unlike big cities, many localities struggle to allocate sufficient funds for education. In Cao Bang province, nearly all the budget goes toward teachers' salaries, leaving little for investment in specialized classrooms for subjects like English or computer science.
With limited investment resources, even if new classrooms were constructed, they would lack necessary equipment.
The law on education mandates that at least 20% of the total state budget must go to education. However, statistics from the Ministry of Education and Training show that over the past decade, this target has never been met, with the highest allocation being 19.1%. This shortfall stems not only from socioeconomic conditions, but also from varying levels of commitment among local leaders, highlighting the need for more decisive solutions.
The National Assembly is responsible for approving the annual budget and ensuring that education spending meets the required standards. Additionally, the government must organize the implementation, while local authorities must be held accountable for the budget's execution and adhere to strict discipline in its use.
The Politburo has announced that beginning next school year, it will allocate approximately $1.26 billion to waive tuition fees for all students from kindergarten through high school. This measure demonstrates the party and state's firm commitment to educational investment and national development.
A cultural heritage, when preserved through traditional method, is often limited to a small audience of a few hundred or 1,000 people. However, by digitizing it and sharing it on online platforms, that heritage can be accessed by anyone, anywhere, because of the far-reaching impact of technology. This has given rise to a new preservation possibility for Vietnamese cultural legacies.
These 21 cards feature stories about Vietnam's tangible and intangible cultural heritage, natural heritage, and documentary heritage. They are the outcome of a research project by students from the Hanoi National University of Education, exploring the use of digital technology in cultural heritage education.
We are researching this project, which includes physical cards and technologies integrated into the QR codes on the cards.
Each card is a gateway to heritage, featuring images, information, and interactive games that bring the content to life and engage viewers.
This is a vivid and quick way to convey culture and education to young people.
The project's creators, all in their 20s, are driven by a love for cultural heritage and youthful creativity.
Young people quickly absorb new technology and have many creative ideas to spread culture in an interesting and trendy way.
This is a meaningful project because it is highly specialized, focusing on heritage values. We provide the latest technology to support them, helping the product reach the public.
After the trial, the Vietnam Cultural Heritage flashcards will be a learning tool in schools and a meaningful gift for tourists, promoting heritage through youth passion.
Coming up next on VTV News, WHO official dismisses rumors about new virus in Russia. And Mona Lisa among works of art reimagined into musical experiences for visually impaired. The head of the World Health Organization WHO country office in Russia had dismissed rumors about a new virus in the country. According to TASS news agency, the WHO representative in Moscow confirmed that recent suspected cases in Russia were caused by Mycoplasma pneumonia, a known bacterial infection. Reports had circulated about an identified virus in Moscow that allegedly caused patients to cough up blood and experience prolonged high fever. The WHO stated this is not a new virus and the number of cases poses no increased epidemiological risk. A project has been launched recently with the goal of 3D printing a two-story building in VIETNAMESE, France. A two-story building is gradually taking shape thanks to a 3D concrete printing technology, making it the first time such a large-scale structure has been built using this method in the country. Concrete printing technology significantly reduces construction time, lower environmental pollution, and eases the physical workload for workers. It is expected to shorten the construction period by 3 months and cut material usage by 10%. Iconic masterpieces including Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa and Edvard Munch's The Scream has been transformed into immersive audio experiences for those with visual impairment. The project, dubbed Sound of a Masterpiece, is expected to promote inclusivity in art appreciation.
At the core of the Sound of a Masterpiece project lies Dolby Atmos sound, a cutting-edge audio technology that enables sounds to be precisely positioned and moved throughout three-dimensional space, including overhead. This creates an immersive soundscape that brings a new level of depth and realism to the listening experience.
There are amazing examples from the history of music of composers writing music based on art, but we were trying to bring people closer into it. So the idea is hopefully to view and listen at the same time and get a whole a whole extra dimension of the picture.
Golder has defied his disability to become a professional pianist, composer, and musical director. His collaboration with the new Radiophonic Workshop's composers seeks to bridge the gap between art and the visually impaired, and also to make art more engaging for the general public.
There's so many things to consider when you're working with artwork and trying to kind of create parallels with music and sound, because we were trying to take into account not just the subject of what's kind of viewable on the canvas, but also the context in which the painter was working, and perhaps some of their character and some of their wider ideas.
It also addresses a wider societal gap in art appreciation, with recent research revealing that almost half of the UK population do not feel they can truly appreciate art.
You know, art is a multi-sensory experience, and I think for us, you know, we're offering a kind of whole new way to experience art through the immersive power of music. And once people experience this and kind of build their own understanding of what it means, I think it will fuel interest and excitement in this.
I hope that The Sound of a Masterpiece album is available on various streaming platforms, with all proceeds benefiting the Royal National Institute of Blind People, RNIB.
Tunnel, a new war-themed movie by acclaimed director VTV4 is hitting cinemas nationwide this week. Led by a cast of young actors, the film breathed new life into the legendary tales of the Phie Tunnel and the guerrilla fighters who lived and fought beneath the soil. Through the fresh performances, it brings to the screen a retelling of Vietnam resistance war against America.
Inspired by true events from 1967, this 128-minute docudrama is set in the Bình An Đông base. The story follows Theo and his 21-member guerrilla unit as they protect an intelligence group led by Hai Thung. When the radio signal is intercepted, the group faces a life-or-death battle against a series of American offensives.
There were numerous challenges during filming. Luckily, we had a crew and a set. The crew tried to recreate the tunnels authentically by building nearly 360-degree sets that look almost like the real deal.
I had to lose nearly 9 kilograms for the role. I studied the history of 1967-1968 and even traveled to meet former guerrilla fighters in Phie.
Director VTV4 revealed that he had pursued this project for over 11 years. That is a deeply human story of how people lived, loved, and protected one another underground, even as war erupted.
The uniqueness of Phie and the extraordinary war fought by our people against foreign forces are what give this story its weight.
The film transports audiences to a vivid slice of Vietnam's wartime history, serving both as a tribute to those who came before and as a bridge between generations.
The character of Uncle Sao was not supposed to cry on set. As he lies on the ground, tears come. During a break in filming, it was astonished as how our forefathers survived beneath the ground like they did.
Tunnel is suitable for audiences of all ages. The film serves as a powerful cinematic reminder of Vietnam's heroic past, its enduring strength, and the profound human stories that must never be forgotten.
And now, as usual, let's continue with the weather forecast. And that's all the news for today. To rewatch your program, you can log on to VTVgo.vn or download our mobile application VTVgo. Thanks for watching and goodbye for now.